That's a bit of Michael Bublé and Haven't Met You Yet. 10 past 10. Good morning to you. You are listening to Wirral Radio. Online on DAB across the North West and North Wales. On FM of 92.1. Hello, we've got joining me in the studio. We've got Donal and Paul. Hello.
Morning, Chris.
Morning, Chris.
I'll get you set headphones now, Donal. I just remembered that, putting those microphones up. Business advice coming to you. We do this most weeks. Paul is from Advanced Business Vision, and we've got some questions which people have emailed in through the week.
Excellent.
So all you business people out there, or if you're looking to set up a business, it's good to have a turn on.
Absolutely.
And have a listen in for this advice and legal advice as well. I'm thinking of about employing an apprentice. Can you give me any advice on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's great news, good thought. An apprentice, and you know what, they don't even have to be 16 years of age these days. It really is looking good, you know.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. You know, an apprentice these days, you can have a varied age band, and it is just a great way of introducing a new employee to a business, and I fully appreciate that, because many years ago I was an apprentice myself, back in the engineering days in Liverpool. You know, I was an engineering apprentice, so it got a really good affiliation with that. And while I was MD of an engineering company down in Wiltshire area, I actually championed an apprenticeship program, so I'm fully on board with apprenticeships. The benefits basically are that you train them, you mentor them, and you give them the skills they need to do their role, and they're with you for a set period of time as an apprentice, and then hopefully and obviously if they do well, you give them a job at the end of that apprenticeship. And it really is a great way of bringing new people into your business and developing skills.
Excellent. Now, obviously, being an apprentice, you might be an apprentice, want to go on for a business idea. Now, looking at John from Hoylake, John's emailed in saying he's got a business idea, but he doesn't have all the expertise to get off the ground. He said I can supply the assets and some funding, and he's identified someone who is an expert in this field and has requested skills to do the work. How can we pool our resources into the best way as a business, and how can we each protect that what we have to put in?
Right, well, probably the best thing to do is to set up effectively a partnership between the two of them, or they can set up a limited company and become joint shareholders in the business. In either event, they need an agreement, though, between themselves to make sure that the respective contributions that they're making into the business is recognised, so that if, for example, your listener is putting in more of the initial investment or ongoing investment, then perhaps he should have a greater share of the shares and the ultimate profit that the business makes. If they don't have an agreement in place, and particularly if it's a partnership, then unfortunately the old Partnership Act 1890 applies, which assumes that each of the partners is entitled to the same profit from the business, when that may not be their intention. So particularly for partnerships, they need a partnership agreement drawing up. For shareholders, they need a shareholders agreement, and in either event that should mean that going forward there can't be any dispute as to who's entitled to what. Yeah,
which can be very costly down the line, as I'm sure you'd appreciate, Chris. You know, it's again, we've been speaking these last couple of weeks about planning and getting things in place before you actually engage and do your business.
I mean, people think when you're running a business it's just, I'm into business, set up the bank, and that's it. But it's all the back stuff before that, the lead up to it, and then things go. And for me, having experienced it myself, you end up going into something, you think this is going good, this is going great, but because you've got two parties, you think, well, this party hasn't done something, and you go, right, we're all fine, but hang on, we need this, we need this.
I think the email mentioned that they've got some expertise, some skills there. It depends on what those skills are.
Yes.
And as Donal said, that split, if you like, that partnership split, that share split, should actually reflect skill base as well. You know, it's knowledge, funding, skill base, etc.
That's right, but also further down the line, if one of them becomes ill, is not able to contribute to the business, how are they going to deal with their affairs then? At least if they have a shareholders agreement which forces one to sell their shares to the other, then the ongoing shareholder is protected, isn't they? So, and it's similar with a partnership. You know, you can trigger the collapse of the partnership, or the continuing partner who wants to carry on in the partnership can at least buy out the other, and you can agree in advance what price is to be paid or whatever, how the value of the business is to be determined. Much better to do it that than spend tens of thousands of legal fees afterwards arguing about it, as I experience on a regular basis. cases.
Yeah. Exactly.
Never assume it's going to run smoothly.
People do though, but you don't see the background to it all, and it's sometimes it'll be fine, but like you say, you've got to get things into place, and it's not just yourself. Especially if you're buying a business, you've got to, from both parties, you've got to get this and this and this and this.
And see, we say this every week. Planning is key. And seek legal advice, because a small amount of money, or a relatively small amount of money spent now at that planning stage, will reap rewards down the line, as Donal said, because otherwise you could end up spending a load of money, to put it right.
If you do want to get in touch with the programme, at Wirral Radio 921, you can tweet us, you can text the word Wirral, then you message to 66777, or visit the website wirralradio.co.uk. Bit of music for you, take a break, and then we'll come back with some more questions and emails that have come in for Paul and Donal. This is Wirral Radio. Good morning to you. John Lennon and Starting Over here on Wirral Radio. It's 26 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock, and it's Thursday morning. We're nearly getting to the weekend, which is always good. I'm joined in the studio by Donal and Paul. Good morning.
Morning again, Chris.
We've had an email in from Margaret, and she said, I'm thinking of retiring in the next 12 to 18 months, having building up my business over the last 30 years. It's in good health. What are my options, and how do I get on about sound advice?
Well, Margaret, congratulations. You're thinking of retiring. This is a good thing, and it's a good question as well. From my point of view as a business advisor, preparing to sort of concede ownership of a business can be tough for any owner-manager. It's getting it right is crucial if that business is going to remain successful. And as we always say every Thursday morning, early planning is vital. Because if we're not planning these things and we just expect it just to happen, we're going to sort of have a few problems. A couple of things really I'd like to sort of bring to this is, first of all, succession planning. That involves transferring the ownership and control of a business to some sort of new management structure. And as far as I'm concerned, and in my knowledge, there are three main options in transferring that business, and it could be to a family member, it could be to a non-family member, or disposing the business through a sale. And we call that either a management buyout, which is where existing management buy into the business, or a management buy-in, where an external person or a company would buy into the business. Now, you could decide, Margaret, to transfer the ownership of your business to a family or a non-family member, or you might want to sell it through one of these management buy-ins or buyouts, but you need to take some serious advice and sort of look at your business. And some of the factors really that sort of could guide your decision. If you're looking at somebody within the business, the management buy-out, is there somebody within the business who could take the reins? Is there somebody that you would be confident that could take that business forward? It could be a family member or a non-family member, as I said earlier, somebody that works within the business, but somebody who knows the business and, more importantly, has those necessary skills to take that business forward and to take control. You're thinking of retiring. You've built this business up, I think you said it was over 30 years. It would be such a shame, I'm sure you'll agree with this, Margaret, to let that business just go. You need to sort of make sure it goes into good, safe hands. And I think for me, identifying the right person or persons to take over the running of your business can be a difficult decision. Much is at stake. Reputation, all that hard work that you and your family have put in over that 30-year period, and you need to be absolutely certain that the chosen candidate or candidate is capable of taking that business forward. It's a choice.
Yeah, that's very sound advice, Paul. And I think as well, if Margaret needs some income after her retirement, and she is thinking of selling the business to a third party, then indeed, careful planning is required, because if she wants to maximise the sale price for her business, then she needs to put in place the agreements that a prospective buyer would expect to see there. So you need to look at the structure of the business, its contracts with its suppliers, contracts with its employees, if she has a lease for her premises, whether that's in order, and so on. Because the more problems a business potentially has, the less likely a buyer is willing to pay full price for it. So the more housekeeping she can do in that sense to make sure the business is in good shape both financially and legally, the better the price you'll get for it.
absolutely. And we said earlier, didn't we, about dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
That's the one.
It's about that as well, and I think, it's all very well that we can give some sort of generic advice here on the show, obviously, which is what we're about. But I think this is one where we need to maybe take this offline and give some specific advice and guidance. So, if Margaret wants to get in touch, she can do, no problem.
Thank you, Margaret. Moving on to Scott from Ellesmere Port. He said, I'm looking to issue new shares into 2 individuals who are investing a small amount of cash in the company. I don't want their shares to have the same rights as my shares, as I am the founder of the company and want to be able to keep a level of control. What can I do in this situation?
Okay, this is a very common question. Shares can have different classes, as we call them. So typically the A-class shares will have voting rights, and as well as an entitlement to share in the dividends that a company might declare. It's a mechanism by which shareholders can take money out of the company when it makes a profit. As well as A-class shares, you could have a B-class share, which allows dividends to be taken, but provides no voting rights. So that would allow our listener to effectively maintain control of the company because he's voting through all the major decisions, but the 2 employees that he's looking to reward, or 2 individuals who want to invest in the business, can take the dividends out, but he retains control. That's the easiest, simplest way of doing it. There are obviously legal things you have to do in that respect, and various resolutions have to be passed, and you have to send those off to Companies House, but it is a relatively straightforward process.
And my one for my favourite thing to do is designing clothing and things like that, and websites and Facebook. I think it's all important, and this kind of kills 2 points about the marketing situation, which, as you know, is, in a business, it's the best.
Absolutely.
And now, and I like taking selfies. Not
You've got a good face for radio, Chris.
Not of myself, because I don't want people to be like. I don't like people getting jealous, the good looks. And, but in a business, I think it's important, especially on a Facebook page, website. Picture of people in the pub or in your business or your customers. For me, that's the perfect marketing. Talking about the clothing with a brand name, there are a number of stores. Say, for instance, there's a number of stores that want to sell the clothing and use a brand name. How can you protect that brand name?
Okay, well, a brand name or even the design that you may have created, which are going to be used on clothing, can be protected. And then what you do is once you've registered the name or whatever, you then license that to the clothing manufacturer or to the retailer. We've had some recent cases on this, or very famous celebrities who've taken a major retail store to task and won for misusing her designs. It's well worth doing. It's a comparatively modest cost to register, but obviously once you've done that, you've said, I'm the owner of this, you may not use this without my permission. If they do want to use the designs or the name, then you license that to them. They have to pay you a fee for doing that. And obviously for merchandise, it's normally a percentage of the sales, so it could be a very considerable sum.
And we kind of answered the question before about obviously the clothing comes into the marketing and the Facebook and the selfies and everything like that. Yeah. Well, it basically goes at how do you market your business successfully by keeping the costs at a minimum. I mean, I'd say that would be the best situation.
I mean, for me, I would always say never ever skimp on marketing.
No,
never. You mentioned that websites, social media platforms, of which we mentioned Facebook. There are other platforms available. It's about, for me, is creating the brand image for your company, and whether that be, and we mentioned this on our first show a couple of weeks ago. Two guys who are running a painting and decorating company, or an organisation that sort of has 50 employees. That marketing message, that branding message, needs to be professional. It needs to be clean. It needs to be concise. So we're looking at a website. It has to have a brand image, a Facebook page, another social media platform page, a Twitter account, whatever that may be. They need to integrate with each other, they need to talk to each other, and they need to drive the traffic to a website. It really is about making that social media strategy, if you like, work together for the best possible aim for your business. And it's about making sure you get it right by branding and awareness, creating that awareness so that your customers look at you, look at your website, look at your social media platforms and think, professional company, this is what I like, and away you go.
Thank you very much. We're going to come to a couple of emails from Rob and Barry as well, right after we play a little bit of music. Got to say hello to Rachel and Leslie, who are in Wallasey at the moment. Good morning to Rachel and Leslie, and also to Olivia as well, sitting at home. She's just got up, you know what I mean? We're working here. And people are still stuck in bed.
Fantastic.
Taking selfies. This is U2, and even better than the real thing. Here at Wirral Radio, online, on your mobile, on DAB across the Northwest and North Wales. I'm Chris Jones. And joined in the studio, we've got Paul and Donal with more questions. Coming up right after this. Chris Jones in the hot seat till 12 o'clock. Good morning to you. Joining us for our final link about Advanced Business Vision. Paul's joins us from there. And from Morecrofts Solicitors, Donal. Good morning to you.
Morning again, Chris.
Hello again, Chris.
Can you hear a little bit better now, Donal?
Yes, thanks, better? Chris. Yeah, I got the headphones on.
I've just realised I've got to give the headphones. We're talking about marketing.
Yeah.
We just had an email in from Marketing the Business from Joyce.
Okay.
She said, which is the best possible form of marketing, and what is the most expensive form of marketing?
Okay. Good questions. You know, the best form of marketing really depends on your business, and I'll go into that in a couple of seconds. Generally, the most expensive form of marketing is usually TV marketing, and the most cost-effective form of marketing would be word-of-mouth recommendation. But let's just step back a bit here. You know, we get confused with marketing and advertising. Marketing is a business concept of which advertising your business is only one strand. And I've said this a couple of weeks ago. You know, branding is an aspect of marketing, and we know it's vitally important. I've said that earlier today. And marketing for me is just a lot more about running up a couple of leaflets or putting an advert out or whatever. It really is a total concept that needs to be fully embraced from the top of the tree right the way down to the lower echelons. So from the owner of the business to the shop floor worker to the frontline sales assistants, you've got to think about how you're going to market your business. And I would suggest that any business, no matter what it is, needs to do marketing in some format. So to market your business, you need a budget. So set aside a budget, an amount of money per year, and know what you're going to do with that. It's about knowing your numbers. And again, we said that last week. Rather than just flying at it, do some planning. Put some numbers down. Set aside that amount of money per month, per week, per quarter, per year as a marketing budget, and then assign that budget to certain parts of marketing, whether it be running up a leaflet, doing a radio advert, doing a TV advert, whatever it may be. But think about it and really look about how you're going to monitor that and review it, because if you just spend the money and you're not monitoring and reviewing it, you've got no idea on the success rate. So the end of the year comes and somebody says, or you look at your books and go, we spent £2,000 on marketing, and what did we get for that? Oh, I don't know. But if you monitor it, you've got an understanding of what you're going to do. The main objective of marketing is to assist and increase their business overall, and that takes time and effort. So for me, any form of marketing needs to be fluid, i.e. it can change depending on how it's going. It needs to be consistent and it needs to be targeted. And as I said earlier, by reviewing it, you will see what's been successful and why, and what has not been so successful and why, and that allows you to make some changes.
I think another good thing for marketing is your staff as well.
Totally. Yeah, said
staff.
That. Yeah.
It depends on what type of business, like for instance the pub game or bars or things like that. Particularly the staff are important.
Yes,
because,
absolutely.
You know, the more relating to the customers more, rather than working, you know, in an office.
They're front line, aren't they?
Front line, yeah. Front line.
But also, I mean, obviously they have family and friends in their own right. Who know people and so on. So that's a great way of actually introducing new work or new source of income for the business.
Yeah.
And just to go back to Paul's point as well, I mean, leaflets generally have a very poor return and are comparatively expensive to do. Social media is absolutely crucial for any business nowadays, and again, it's relatively cheap to set it up. And in terms of monitoring, it's easy to ask your customers how they've heard of you, particularly your new customers, how they've heard about your new business. That way you can check whether your investment in that particular form of marketing has been worth it or not.
Exactly. You're going to get some feedback. You're going to get an understanding of the success rate over whatever time period you're going to do it. And I totally agree with what Donal's just said. For me, the new wave of social media and the platforms out there, if businesses are not looking at that and considering that as a form of marketing, getting your message out there, they're missing a trick. They really are.
This, guys, it's been a pleasure today speaking to you. Do you want to give out some details of how the guys get in touch with both yourselves?
I'll do that, not a problem at all. Yeah, we have a dedicated telephone line, which is 0151 668 0363. So people can either give us a call directly and speak to Donal or his team, or me and my team. We're both on Twitter at ABV_limited and at Morecrofts for Twitter, and we've got our website, which is www.morecrofts.co.uk and www.advancedbusinessvision.com.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you, Chris. Been a pleasure.
You're listening to Wirral Radio. We've had a big hello to Rachel, and saying some more requests as well. In the next hour, we're playing a fair little bit of music this morning. I'm Chris Jones, in the hot seat till 12 o'clock. You're listening to Wirral Radio, 92.1 online on DAB across the North West and North Wales.